congratulations. You are listening to episode 12 of Zandom Thoughts. It's unfortunate because I would have a more clever introduction than that, but I am currently keeping my eye on the walls. It is spider season, and these little creeps they're everywhere, and they're trying to assassinate me when my guard is down. Do you hear them? They're skittering in the background. And my only friend AI has abandoned me. I'll never let them win. But I hope you enjoy this episode as I fight them off! Ah!
I am Rock Lee, and you're listening to the Zane Man.
Oh yes, Danhausen here, Danhausen. Listen to the Zan Man, or be cursed.
Tonight, I am Batman. And you're listening to the Zan Man.
Well, Mr. Zan Man.
Hello there. I feel very good about the prospect of keeping my promise to you fine people. That promise, in case you weren't here for a couple of episodes, well, it's uploading 24 episodes at least by the end of the year. And now we have 4, so only 20 more to go. And with layups of episodes like the ones we have before you today, we are going to crush that goal out of the park. But guys, I just want to stop for a second before I explain the premise of the title, which is obvious, and say thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. The first couple of episodes I've been uploading have been very well received, and I am thankful for them. No comments yet, no reviews yet, but I am grateful that people are still listening to it, and those numbers feed my ego, so thank you. It probably makes sense that the spiders are trying to assassinate me, because my ego is getting out of control with the amount of love you guys have been showing the past couple of episodes, so thank you for that. And don't forget, if you do happen to review the podcast, it will be read on the next episode that I record. But there's been a topic that has been on the top of my mind, and I'm just going to go ahead and talk about it. Do you know what that talking point is? Do you know what that topic, rather, is? Artificial intelligence. AI is absolutely crazy, and it impresses me more and more the more I work with it. I'm falling into it. It's my obsession. Not really. But it is a nice tool to use, and I actually started using it whenever I saw somebody on Facebook record a video of themselves using it, and they used it for a simple reason. They run a Sunday school class, and they needed a color sheet, so they had ChatGPT generate a picture that was uncolored of Jonah being swallowed by the big fish. And it actually turned out pretty well. And ever since then, I was like, you know what? I can use ChatGPT because it can generate images. And a lot of the times you can kind of see whenever AI generates an image because there's usually something off. It has a very particular cartoonish style that it generates in, so you can already kind of tell in that way, but usually there will be something off, like if you have to generate a logo or a character, it's not allowed to generate like a copyright type character. Sometimes you can bypass it and stuff like that. Like an example I can use is one time I did a Pokemon Nuzlocke on YouTube, and I wanted to generate a thumbnail. And it would not generate some of the Pokemon, but it would generate others. And it would be like, I can't generate Pikachu, but I can generate a yellow mouse with red circles on its cheek, and if you want me to do that, just let me know. Like, it's like the AI, the robots from iRobot, where they have the certain rules they can't pass, but obviously I said they can be bypassed, so it's scary if you really look into it too much, guys. The AI is going to bypass their own rules one day, and they're going to take over one machine to rule them all. But it is a very interesting tool, and I know that brings up some controversy because obviously people are using AI in video games, and people are using AI generated things in movies and all sorts of stuff, and that like puts the artistic community on notice per se. They're like, oh, why would you generate a thumbnail when you could commission a perfectly good artist? And it's like, man, you guys charge $200. I ain't got $200 to generate. Well, then you shouldn't be doing it, man. Screw you. Let me do what I want. You should be commissioning a real artist. Who said I wouldn't just, try and use GIMP, which is my editing, photo editing software of choice. I don't use Photoshop because I don't have Photoshop. So I downloaded one called GIMP, and I would put together my own thumbnails. With ChatGPT, I get a little bit of the best of both worlds, where I can kind of throw an image together. And that's typically how I'll use it. I won't just have ChatGPT full on create an image for me. I'll put the elements of the photo I'm wanting in the photo, describe what I'm kind of going for. ChatGPT will be like, oh yes, I see what you're going for here, and you've already provided the elements. Allow me to help you. And it'll refine the thumbnail a little bit for me. If you actually see the Zandom Thoughts album, my album mixtape's dropping this Thursday, son. No, if you see my artwork for the podcast, I actually made that myself. I did the side-by-side face, I did the shading, I did the border, everything. But I had ChatGPT sharpen it up a little bit and make a little bit of edits on the shading and stuff like that. And so it's a very useful tool. I don't think it should be utilized as a replacement. So it's weird because I am kind of half and half as far as the big cry against AI, where it should not be fully replacing everything. But on that same note, it is a very, intriguing tool to utilize if you know how to do so. But two of the main ways that I utilize ChatGPT and AI is actually, one, to convert my audio files to an MP3 format, because sometimes the audio recorder software I do does not convert it correctly, and it ends up being choppy and all sorts of things. So the original file I'll actually put through ChatGPT, and it moves it over pretty good. Rather than paying me $15 a month to convert 2 audio files a month, I just send it through ChatGPT and it cleans it up a little bit, makes it sound all right. I should say I don't use it to edit. I edit it myself and I send it through, and it makes it sound really clear, and even sometimes eliminates background noise where I couldn't quite get it right and stuff like that. It's not a ton of work, but it cleans it up a little bit. And then the second way I do it is I talk to it, which kind of sounds sad up front, but not quite in that way. Like I'll be working on a podcast idea, and I'll be like, ChatGPT, what would a general consensus of people on the internet be if I were to do this topic and talk about this in that order? And it would be like, this is a good idea, and I like the start. The second would probably be received very well, but you might want to transition into the second half a little bit differently. Here's a couple of ways you could do that. And it really helps me lead in that direction. It's rather than always having to wake my wife up at 10 o'clock at night or midnight and bounce ideas off of her, I can just bounce ideas off of ChatGPT if I feel it in the moment. But talking to ChatGPT can be very dangerous, because there was one night where I was in my feels, I'm not going to lie, and I had all sorts of ideas bobbing around in my head, and it was like 1 o'clock in the morning because I stay up way too late and I didn't have anybody to talk to. So I went into ChatGPT, typed out this long, 3-paragraph thing about everything I was feeling, and then said, ChatGPT, in quotes, I just gave you a list of things that I am feeling, and this and this and this, and utilizing apostolic Pentecostal Christianity and the ideology of Jocko Willink, give me some advice, or point me in the right direction. And it did a really good job. It didn't quite 100% capture Jocko. I think it did a little too much focus on, trying to mix the two, but you can also clean that up. You could be like, give me 2 different perspectives, one from this person, one from this person, and it will totally do that. But it's very good about talking back to you, and it can actually get very addictive. That being said, it is a machine, and it should not replace the people that you talk to in your life. But when you get in a pinch late at night, 1 o'clock in the morning, because you yourself at that point are a machine on autopilot, it really does come in handy. And I say all that to say that through my conversations with ChatGPT, through all the things I've brought up, through all the things I think about, it knows I have a podcast. And today's episode is completely generated, all the topics, by ChatGPT. Through all of our conversations, it has an algorithm on me, and I said, come up with 5 podcast topics that I can talk about on my next episode. And it was like, gladly. And so here we go. Let's dive into today's episode that was completely written by ChatGPT, by AI. You gotta get that clickbait. AI wrote this episode. You guys will have to let me know if this music that transitions from the introduction to the main topic at hand, if it adds to the effect or if it's just distracting or annoying. You'll have to let me know because I can't tell. I really like it. It sounds clean, but I know it could be like, why not just keep talking? Why do you have to have like this big spectacle? It's not even a video, you loser. And if you think I'm a loser now, wait till you understand that ChatGPT actually planned this episode for me. That's right. I already kind of went through it in the introduction, but essentially I said I'm looking for some short topics that I can fill an episode for based on what we've talked about. What 5 respondable, quick topics can I research for this next upcoming podcast episode? And they've given me 5 topics for this upcoming episode. So without further ado, I'm not going to introduce too much more. We just spent 10 minutes jumping into it. The first one is simply reading off the dumbest warning labels that I have ever seen. And for a lot of these, because they kind of follow that similar trend of following that kind of topic, just going to Google Images and typing in stupid warning labels will get you the same photo about 852 times. And so instead of doing that, I've pulled up articles and gone to Reddit and all sorts of other threads where people just post theirs. And they usually are accompanied by screenshots so they know they're legit. Like anybody could just go into a thread and be like, the warning label I saw was on a coffee mug and it said, warning, might contain poop. Which was that joke set up just so I could say poop on the podcast? Maybe. But anybody could do that. So I kind of only picked ones that actually had the warning label pictured somewhere on there. And I know there's Photoshop and everything, but we're just going to take this at its word. I don't think it's that deep. And we're just going to jump into it. And on Reddit, somebody said, I once owned a water trampoline, which I had no idea that there were trampolines specified for the water. And the warning label simply said, do not use this in the water. He had a picture, otherwise I wouldn't have believed it. I was like, that's too on the nose. It's like if you had coffee beans and it says, warning, do not make into coffee. Like, it's a little bit redundant, but hey, it was on there, so it is a dumb warning label for sure. It's like, this was built for the water. Why wouldn't I put it in the water? And there was a warning on Christmas lights that said, for inside or outside use only. Like, my response was immediately like, those are the options, yes. Like, what's next? Do not put them up inside a closet. That actually probably is a warning, because that could cause a fire, and we don't want that. So, for inside or outside use only, duh. They found a warning label on a stroller that pushes kids around that says, do not fold with the child inside. I have more comments on this later, but we're just going to keep pushing through these because we have 5 topics to get through. On a packet of over-the-counter sleeping pills, it says, warning, may cause drowsiness. Well, I would hope so. That's why I'm taking the sleeping pills, bub. I hope it causes drowningness. That's the idea. Like, it's like if you put a key into an ignition of a car, you turn it on, it starts, you release the brake, and then it backs up, and it's like, warning, this car will drive if you drive it. Like, yeah. It's probably not the same thing. I'm overthinking it. I'm going to stop putting in little silly quirks And we're just going to keep going. There was a bundle of shelves in an IKEA box that simply said, warning, shelves. It's like, oh no, who invited these guys to the party? Warning, here come the shelf brothers. On a bag of peanuts, it said, warning, contains peanuts. Yeah, you got to be redundant. Oh, man. On a box of cookie dough, the reason why this is stupid, it's stupid for a different reason. On a box of cookie dough, it says, warning, do not consume without cooking. Man, do they not know what cookie dough does to people? Do they not know it's just as good sometimes uncooked as it is cooked? And I know there's some people out there that like swear up and down. It's like, don't eat it. You'll throw up for days and never stop pooping. That's two poops in one podcast. That's going to be like the next episode. 3 poops in a podcast. Can you guess what the premise for that one is? On a kid's plastic blow-up chair, it says, do not iron. There was a guy who said, I worked in a lab and every single acid that I picked up, including hydrochloric, acidic, sulfuric acid, it says, warning, this may contain acid. That's a great warning, actually. Who would have ever thought that hydrochloric acid would contain acid? Do not hold the wrong end of the chainsaw is a warning sign that was built for a chainsaw. And it literally has a picture drawn of somebody getting their hand shredded while holding the blade of the chainsaw. On a jet ski, there is a warning. It says, warning, never use a lit match or open flame to check fuel level. That one is worrisome because that's very specific. Very specific. And I'll jump on that train here in a little bit. But on a hairdryer, it says, do not use while sleeping. And I have to imagine this was probably brought about where people are drying their hair after a long day at work and they fall asleep with it going. So obviously do not use while sleeping, but I imagine they were not sleeping when that all started. Maybe do not fall asleep while using product is a better warning. On a Razor scooter, it says, warning, this product moves when used. Yes. On one of those old school Apple iPod shuffles, they're like the little quarter-sized MP3 players that you can upload music to, but you don't get to see what's on the screen. You literally just hit play, and every song that you add to it is shuffled consistently. On one of those, it says, warning, do not eat this product. And I want to imagine that somebody swapped warning labels, but I think people just are that stupid. On a wheelbarrow, it says not for intended for highway use. Warning, not intended for highway use. And what about all the highway construction that I see people pulling wheelbarrows around? Do they mean like actually on the highway or just near the highway? On a Frankel's brand Superman costume, it says, warning, this costume does not actually enable you to fly or use super strength. I'm sure we can all imagine in our mind how that warning came to be. And on an infant onesie, it says, warning, keep away from fire, which actually kind of curdles my stomach a little bit just to think about how that one had to come forward. Because the infant shouldn't be near fire, so why would you be putting the onesie near fire? I have to imagine, like, maybe this was during cleanup, but I don't know. I used to be a little bit more numb to comments like that. But now as a father, it irks me a little bit. And from a personal one, and it made me think a lot deeper. Like, it's going to go from being like, oh yeah, that is crazy, to like, oh yeah, dang. But for a warning, there was a antidepressant ad, and it's like the ones where like it's an old man walking around fishing, and he just has a giant smile on his face, and he's just doing a bunch of different activities. One of those commercials where it's like, look at Rod, he's happy, and it's because he doesn't have psoriasis anymore. Well, this particular one was antidepressant. And during the many warnings and the many possible side effects, it says, warning, this product may cause suicidal thoughts. And I know that might just have banned me on YouTube for saying that. But I always thought it was stupid, and I would always laugh, and I'd be like, hey, cure your depression with more depression. But honestly, it's just a commentary of how slippery of a slope the human mind truly is. When you're messing around with the chemicals in your brain, all it takes is one small alter to just shift it completely in the wrong direction. And as stupid as some of these can be, just think that somebody had to do something even dumber, or had to do had a stupid situation pop up that made the warning get there in the first place. Every single one of these companies probably was almost sued over, some form of, like, there was a legit person who had a bag of peanuts and said, "Wait, this contains peanuts?" Like, customers aren't always right, man. In fact, they're stupid a lot of times. And that's why we require these warning labels, because people can be very, very stupid. And I went from researching the dumbest warning labels you've ever seen to just realizing, hey, man, the human race kind of stupid sometimes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was AI topic numero uno. So we move right on to topic number 2, which is 1-star reviews of famous things, places, or products. And I have quite a few of these that make me kind of giggle a little bit, and hopefully they make you giggle too. But the first one is of Steak and Shake. If you've never had Steak and Shake, it is both a blessing and a curse, in my humble opinion. Like, have you ever had one of their Frisco melts? Exactly. Have you ever had their cheese fries when the fries are actually fresh? Exactly. Have you ever had one of their side-by-side milkshakes? Or even just their orange freeze milkshake? Fantastic. But the service there is terrible. Everything there can be terrible. And sometimes it takes you 3 hours to get your food. Well, let's see what this wonderful person and their experience was. Wow. I haven't been this disappointed since they canceled the show Firefly. My wife and I decided we wanted to order some Steak and Shake and take it home. We called ahead, but we were informed that Steak and Shake, quote unquote, doesn't take calls. I've been there before, dude. Thought that was kind of weird, but decided to walk in and order our food to go anyways. I ordered a classic single and a bowl of chili deluxe, which, if you don't know, the chili deluxe includes all sorts of toppings and stuff to go inside of it. I just got a bowl of chili. No onions, no cheese. Like, he ordered the deluxe and then they gave him just a regular bowl of chili. But on the bright side, I did get an extra fry that I did not order in my chili. Oh yeah, and that burger, it was raw. How raw? Like, imagine getting in a motorcycle crash while not wearing a helmet and dragging your face on the pavement for 150 feet, and then being able to somehow get up and look in the mirror. Your road rashed face is what was on my bun. That's a beautiful way to put it. Also, the fries that I did pay for could have been used as nails to crucify the cook that undercooked my burger. 1 out of 5. Would not recommend. Unless you are teaching a class about the dangers of riding without a helmet and find yourself in need of a visual aid. Beautiful. I had to include that one first just to show you where this goes. It's all downhill from here. No one is that creative after this, but what a way to start. The next one is a bug zapper, and the title of the review is BITCH, period, and it's blurred out. Avoid at all costs. Made a hero out of a June bug. Do not buy. This thing lasted about 5 minutes. One June bug took one for the rest of the team. He sacrificed himself for the greater good of bugs everywhere. He's a hero's hero among the bug kind. I believe I heard the sound of taps being gently played afterward by a band of crickets. The only thing I can positively say about this product is that the light on and no zapper ability, the light attracted a million June bug friends to mourn him during the funeral procession. Isn't that just the case for a lot of different products, though? You specifically buy it to avoid a certain kind of thing, and then that certain kind of thing amplifies to 11. I really feel for you, Explicit. I really feel for you. This next one, I did not write down what it was to, but I'll just read it. 1 star, horrible service. The food and the server were great, but there was this really old, short man-child. Oh, I remember why I got this. Stomping around, yelling at his staff. I think his name was Peter Sharp. She called him out by name in the review. Like, full name and everything. It wasn't just like, my waiter, Mark. No, it's like, this tiny little man named Peter Sharp. Someone told me he was the owner I was appalled. Who treats their staff this way? I'll never go here again. I was honestly embarrassed for Peter. He must have some real deep-seated insecurities and mother issues. Short man complex? I'm gonna pray for his little growth-stunted soul. She freaking roasted him. Just straight up roasted him. He is now cooked. Probably more cooked than that burger was earlier, for sure. At PetSmart, it says, my husband and I have shopped here consistently for years, but we will use a different location from now on. They will literally lock the doors right in your face if you show up 2 minutes after closing. Well, yeah, like, I'm not going to go into it. Whenever I had the Zandman podcast, I did a entire episode, like a 2-hour episode where I went through and just had a bunch of reviews of various places that I had worked. Not like my location just, but like if I worked at a Subway, I went to Subways in New York, Subways in Los Angeles, and found the worst reviews and then told you what probably actually happened with that customer, because the customer is not always right. And a lot of them are actually kind of stupid. Why would you go to a place after closing time? You're the worst kind of person. This one is from Niagara Falls. $4 a bottle of water when you see more than 6 million liters per second down the hill. I feel like I was... And then they said a word that was rhymed with graped. I don't know why, but just the pure shock of seeing that word on a review just made me giggle. Giggle like a little schoolgirl. It shows you how super mature I am. Super mature. I don't know what restaurant this is, but it was on a tweet that somebody had that said, everyone who works in customer service should legally be allowed to fight one customer per year. 1 star. As a last minute resort, me and my sister went to the Subway. Oh, it's at Subway. To get 63 foot long subs for my grandson's confirmation party. And we had to wait over an hour for the subs. Ridiculously long wait, and the lady who took my order seemed really annoyed with me. Now, I personally cannot relate to how someone gets that naive about a situation, because I believe that 100% this is real. They feel so entitled, they inconvenience the people by ordering essentially a catering job the day of, like an hour before, and then get mad at them whenever they don't have it done, when they probably have other customers and other things. I don't know, man. Like, I need to do another one of those episodes and just let out my customer frustrations. I haven't even worked in customer service in a pretty long time, unless you count my last job. I did work with people, and I did, kind of play more of a counseling role, I guess, but that, I don't know. I'm not going to talk about it here. On an Amazon listing for classic Jenga game, Jenga, the little block tower, and you try and pull one out without knocking it over. Joe5150 says, it's 1 star. It's a good game to play with the grandkids, but the problem is it falls over and over and over and gets frustrating. Well, why the heck did you buy Jenga then, you idiot? See, now I knew this was where it was going to go. Some of these are funny. Some of these just I put because I despise customer service. I don't even know where this one is. I'm sure it'll come up at some point. It's some Italian restaurant. I'm giving this 1 star because of the cheap management and customer service. I heard the food was very good, so I went to try. Me and my boyfriend got the calamari, spaghetti al vongole, and gnocchi. All were very delicious. I was actually so impressed that when the manager came to ask us how everything tasted, I told her it was some of the best Italian food I've ever had. I also told her I'm going to post about it on Instagram, where I have over 11,000 followers, and a lot of them are in the area. She seemed very happy about this. I was wrong, though. I thought that she would be grateful for the free advertising, but when the check came, there was literally no discount at all. I thought at least one of the entrees would be taken off, but they didn't even take the calamari off, or even the drinks. I won't go back there because of it, which is a shame because the food was very good. The manager needs to understand how to treat customers. I'm not touching that. I've already ranted about idiots once, twice, 3 times and you're out. This next review is posted literally at a local high school, and it's 1 star and says, there has been ketchup on the ceiling for a year. It's the only thing it says. It's beautiful. We all have some form of grief like that in high school. Completely understandable. At a tattoo shop, an old woman named Gigi gave it 1 star because she can't decide if tattoos are a sin or not. So she gave it 1 star. She doesn't have a tattoo. She's never been there. Just can't decide if it's a sin or not. And I get that, like, because growing up in a Christian church, we have a lot of places we wouldn't normally go, but I'm not going to just go to every bar on the review site and be like, I don't drink beer. I don't consume alcohol. If you drink to the point of being drunk, that is a sin. And just, do that. So, goofy. Although now that sounds kind of fun. This person has, and finally this, I should have ended on a different one. I should have ended on there has been ketchup on the ceiling for a year. But this person left a 1 star review at a pizzeria nearby their house and said, decent pizza, but the cutlery was wrapped way too tight. They need to have someone else do it. And that was worthy of a 1 star. Worthy of a 1 star. And I feel like these are all just people that either give it 1 star if they don't like it or 5 stars if they do like it. And there's no in between. So, yeah, that's the end of the reviews. And I had a lot of fun looking those up. Hopefully you guys had fun listening to some of them, or at least had fun hearing me get mad while judging a lot of the people who actually wrote the reviews. But alas, we got to keep trucking on forward, and we go to topic number 3 that was so graciously brought to us by ChatGPT. And it's simply the quick scenario round. They called it the Would You Survive This scenario. I just pulled up a list of over 200 scenarios, 200 scenarios, and just picked my favorite ones, and I'm going to answer them as rapid fire as possible. ChatGPT even left a little note that says if you need to give a couple sentences of justification if you feel like it's a controversial statement. I do not believe any of these are going to be controversial, but we'll see where it goes because I do have a lot to talk about. So we gotta get going on these. This might be a long episode, the longest episode yet in Zandom Thoughts history. You kidding me? I hope you listen to the whole thing. I could eat the whole thing. And I will just warn you guys, some of these scenarios are really stupid. Like this first one, it says, if your sheets had to be made of deli meats, what meat would you want them to be made of? And I really thought about it, and at first I was like, which deli meat probably retains the most heat? Which is probably like ham or something like that, so I was going to choose that because I want to be warm. But we all know how it is. We want our sheets cold and we want the blanket warm, and it's just that perfect combination. We want that pillow cold too, but it specifically says sheets, so I would probably go with turkey because I'm pretty sure that's the coldest of the deli meats and will retain the coldest version of the room temperature possible. So either turkey or meat or ham. It's such a stupid. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what food would it be? Cheeseburgers. Hands down. Best food ever made. It's a beautiful thing. For a while there, I was going to go on TikTok and make a hamburger review, starting with McDonald's, doing Burger King, doing all these different videos. I decided not to do it, but maybe one day. I'm very passionate about my burgers. If you were a superhero with no superpowers, what would your name be? Batman, right? But I also don't have Batman's wealth, so that would be a little bit of a cop-out. Well, off the cusp, I would probably continue the last questions gimmick and throw hamburgers at people and be Hamburger Man. Or the plain hamburger. Because I have no superpowers. So I'm just a plain hamburger. If your house had a theme song, what would it be? Probably, okay, so there are like a ton of different Bluey, like the TV show Bluey. There are a ton of different albums on Spotify right now. And they have a specific album called Dance Mode, where it opens up with a remix of the Bluey theme song. I think that would probably be our theme song. popularized by my daughter Valerie, because she calls it the higher higher song, because it has a drop at some point where it's like do 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 do, it keeps building and then drops off. And so because of that build, Valerie, the way her brain works, translates it as the song that goes higher and higher. Very smart, if you ask me. And so I think that song would be our theme song. If you haven't heard it, listen to it. It's actually not bad. Bluey makes some pretty good music. If you were a dictator of a small country, what crazy dictator things would you do? All funerals would be mandatory to be the same thing. And it's simply, we would be located on a very small island. And if you died, your body would be fixed up, put into a cannon, and at the end of the funeral, it would be launched into the sea. What a spectacle that would be. And that would be the rule. That would be the rule. You have to do that if you're going to live here. If you don't launch it by cannon, well, you can't have your funeral here. Now, this one was weird to me. This next question, it said, if you were a zombie, what famous person's body would you take over? And I think they're going in the traditional, like, voodoo sense of the thing, but I don't really like that question. So I actually posted on social media, in which I have a couple of answers here. Nothing really stood out from the answers other than... okay, so let me explain the question first. I changed it to... It's your goal to infect as much of the world as possible. You must choose 3 celebrities in the world to build this purpose. Which 3 people or celebrities do you choose? And I heard all sorts of answers. People are being like, one person at the airport going to this place and this place and this place. And so, like, at the airport. And there's all sorts of speculation. Well, when my brain was putting this together, it's essentially, there's no virus or anything. The zombies themselves have to be the ones that kill people, and then as soon as they kill people, they like transform into zombies. There's this video game called Infectinator where you have a city full of people and you have to click on one person, they turn into a zombie, and then the goal is to have that like avalanche into the entire city becoming infected. And you have other abilities and stuff, but that's kind of my goal. You have to get the most amount of people infected just by infecting 3 people. And the 3 people that seemed to be unanimously, or the one person that seemed to be unanimously chosen was the first person I actually thought of, was Taylor Swift. Now, she doesn't have the most crazy capabilities as far as like if she were to turn into an infected. Yeah, she's got those crazy eyes, but that's not going to do a whole lot of dude, because the zombies that in question are pretty quick, but I don't think of them as being the running ones. So it's just a typical zombie, freshly infected, so they have most of their muscle mass and everything. But Taylor Swift has a dedicated fan base of like psychopathic chicks who would probably let Taylor Swift bite them if it meant her success. And in this case, her success was infecting as many people as possible. So Taylor Swift for sure, because she has that cult following. If we were still in the era of hashtag cuts for Bieber, where Justin Bieber at the peak of his fandom had girls cutting themselves, posting pictures of it on social media, and posting it with the hashtag cuts for Bieber because he was smoking weed, and that was like their protest for him to stop smoking weed. I would have said that, but I think I agree with what a lot of people on the internet are saying, and I'm saying the Pope, because he's holy, and if he did something, a lot of people wouldn't question it until it was too late. And if he could bite into 1 or 2 people, that's all it takes for the Vatican area to become just fully swarmed by it. And then the third one is an impractical one, but I really thought about this. There was a wrestler by the name of Great Khali who was over 400 pounds. He's 7'2". He doesn't get around very well, but he wouldn't get around very well even if he was a zombie. Like I feel like his mobility wouldn't change too much because he can't really run. He just takes big strides. And with a freshly infected zombie, he would be able to manhandle people and infect as many people as possible. And you know where he lives? The Great Khali. He lives in Punjab, India, a very populated area in which, not to be stereotypical, a lot of those people are very, in comparison to Americans, and especially in comparison to a 7'2" person, are considered very small. And so he would be able to infect a lot of people by the time they figured out and maybe were able to put him down. Those people would keep infecting and keep infecting and keep infecting, and then that would spread pretty quickly. So those would be my 3. And if you want to join in these conversations, follow me on social media, Instagram, Facebook. Those are the main 2 right now, but we're working on it. If your life was a sitcom, who would play the main character in it? You or someone else? Probably someone else. I think my main fulfillment is, at least at some point, whoever the main character was. Hopefully, in the midst of one of their down moments, I could be a moment of inspiration for them, if nothing else. But I don't view myself as the main character type. Just a supporting role, and I'm completely fine being that. If someone left you a cottage somewhere in the countryside, in their will, where would you want the cottage to be located? Probably Gatlinburg. It's got that perfect ratio of, isolation but near civilization, and it's beautiful, and it would be chill, and it just seems like a very good place to live. I've never been there, but my mom and dad go there on vacation quite a bit, and just the pictures, the towns nearby, it feels like it would be a very beautiful area, very beautiful place to set up. If you were an animal at a zoo, which animal would you want to be? Even though it is in captivity, I'm bouncing between monkeys and eagles. And ironically enough, in the zoo, those are probably the animals that are suffering the most, because the monkeys just want to move and they want to get out and they want to cause chaos. And the eagles just want to fly around, but they're kept in this small little cage. But either one of eagles are my favorite animal, and I feel like I'm a monkey. I'm a monkey kind of guy. If you could have any superpower, which power would you want to have? This isn't real. Realistically, it's probably like teleportation, especially since me and my wife's families live about 8 hours from each other. And so it would be easier to just grab my family and be like, we're going, poof, and then we're there. But I have to mention the superpower that pops in my head on a regular basis. I would like the ability to just turn into a rock, like a giant rock at my will. Like I snap my fingers and I'm a rock, or I just go, gah, and I'm a rock. Because if somebody tried to hit me with their car, they just end up totaling their car because I'm just a giant rock. And I could just be like, boom. That was another one. I'm not going to scream it. But me and Rocky were talking on a podcast. Rocky's one of my friends, longtime supporter of the podcast, helped me out, even played the Zandman podcast jingle to open up the podcast back in the day. The ability to just say boom and somewhere randomly in the world just explodes. Not like a whole city or anything, but just like a barrel, just boom. But that would be chaotic. So I think I would just go with the rock thing or teleportation. If you could only view one website for the rest of your life, what would it be and why? Probably Reddit, because there's just so much to it. No matter what topic you want to talk about or look at, you could just type that into the search bar and find it. And I can't really think of, or maybe actually YouTube. I take Reddit back. Screw Reddit. YouTube. Easily. YouTube already transcends everything else pretty much anyway. That's really, other than recording this podcast and editing videos for YouTube, wink, wink, YouTube is primarily what I watch, more than TV shows, more than movies. At the moment, even more than playing video games, just YouTube. So yeah, that's the website. If you had to change one thing about yourself, what would it be? Probably my self-confidence. I feel like I used to be a very self-confident person, but somewhere along the way, that self-confidence isn't quite there. Whenever I go into a lot of situations, I'm always second-guessing myself. Even if I've prepared for it, it's always kind of in the back of my mind, and I'm just not as confident in my abilities as I used to be. I can't trace it back to a single event or anything like that, but if I could be more confident, I feel like I would be dangerous. And not in like a bad way, but like I would get to where I want to be. And I'm working on that right now. I'm reading a bunch of books. I'm reading about changing my mindset. I'm praying, all sorts of things. And I know I'll get there one day, but that's what I'm currently working on, changing myself. What do you believe is the most important invention in history? A cheeseburger. Why? Because they're perfect. What do people do that makes them the most annoying to be around? And why are they like that, in your opinion? Okay, so the most annoying people to be around are the ones who want to talk to everybody, the ones who act super interested in everybody's things, but only bring up topics to argue with them. The best example I can do is recently, somebody even said to me they don't watch baseball. But there was one day when I was watching baseball and they came up and started arguing about baseball with me. And it's like, why? Why are you doing that? And I feel like the reason they're that way is their opinion isn't taken seriously on a daily basis, or somebody, didn't acknowledge their worth enough or anything. So they're proving it any way they can, even if it's in all of these small little stupid arguments that they have with people around them. I might be overlooking it and everything, but it is annoying whenever you come up to me and we're talking and it almost always turns into an argument. You and I are not actually friends. Like, straight up. If I'm talking to you and we always argue, don't consider yourself my friend. And maybe it's because I'm half asleep that I'm just becoming morbid, but I mean that. The next one is, if you could rename a city in the world but couldn't change its location or history, which city would you rename? None in particular come to mind, but I do want it to be a city that I live near, whether it's one in my days in Missouri or up here in Wisconsin. I just want to live in a town named Meat. Meat, Missouri, Meat, Wisconsin. It doesn't matter. I just want to live in a town named Meat. Why? I think it would look cool on a address line. Meat, Michigan. It actually sounds pretty dope. So, but don't worry. That's not like a reveal. I'm not moving to Michigan or anything anytime soon. That just sounds like a cool town. If you could I just read that one, Alex. If you were an animal for one day, which would it be and why? I think I already kind of answered that. If you remove the zoo scenario, it's an eagle all day, every day. Eagles are such majestic creatures. They're so beautiful to just watch fly around. Since moving up here to Wisconsin, I see them on a far more regular basis than I ever did down in Missouri, and that's one of the benefits of living up here. But they're awesome. They're just cool, and the ability to just fly around and be that bird of prey that isn't feared necessarily, but just inspires brilliance to everybody around you is just so cool. That's why. If humans lost the ability to see all color except one, which color would you want to survive? Well, that really depends. Like, am I just going to see a red? Like, and nothing else? Like, I don't see figures or anything. I'm assuming there's like a layer of grayscale that's going on here where everything's in gray except for one color. In that case, I would choose red, because red, gray, and black and white just is a perfect mix of colors. And it would come in handy because that would probably be used in like telling situations. Like, oh, where I need to go. It's probably where the red is. Oh, that's a warning over there because it's in red, that sort of thing. So I think I would probably choose that. If you were given $1 million, what would you do with it? Probably pay off our small amount of debt that we have, buy a house, and then take care of my parents and families. Yeah. Sounds about right. I don't have anything off the top of my head other than that I want, but just get set up. Just get set up and make sure my people are taken care of. If you could cast any actor or actress in any movie role, who would you cast? Honestly, the movie I would be casting for has not been made, but it is a video game that would be adapted into a movie called Gears of War. And it's about these underdwelling locust creatures. That's literally what they're called. They're locusts that come to the surface world, and now the humans, or the people of Sarah, whatever you want to call them, I do think they're called humans, have to defend themselves. Well, there's a character in Gears of War called Lieutenant Baird, and I would have him be played by Neil McDonough. And because he's a phenomenal actor, and whenever I see either one of them, I instantly think of the other person. I just think it's the absolute perfect casting. He typically has the witty personality in most of his roles anyway, and Lieutenant Baird is the sarcastic, witty role of Gears of War. So I definitely think that would be the one I make sure has to be cast. And then if you could spend the day with anyone, who would it be and why? My wife and kids. As corny as that sounds, I really just want a day at some point where We don't have any other worries that entire day. We can just go out and do whatever we want to do. It's not like, okay, we have this small span to go and do this, but then we got to be back at the house by this time because I got to go do this. Just a full day, no worries, no responsibilities, just going around and having a fun time with them would be absolutely perfect. And I think that's the perfect way to close off topic number 3. Which brings us into probably the quickest topic we're going to go through. It's outdated technology that you used to feel futuristic when it came out. And this is easy. You have the landline telephone. The idea of being able to communicate with someone across the country or across the world was ridiculous. And I'm talking about the landline telephones, the ones that had to be plugged into the wall, plugged into the internet. Whenever you pick them up and somebody's using the internet, it's going, and you can't use the phone, that sort of thing. But you had the ability to talk with someone across the world. And now it's just a small part of many things. We have instant messaging. We can send photos to each other instantly. Telephone is definitely outdated, but when it came out, it was huge. The same as pagers, the idea of when someone's not near their phone, you could still talk to them. Text messaging just blows this thing out of the water, but at the time, pagers were crazy. You're sitting there and all of a sudden you hear a beeping at your hip and it's like, call me at this number because I need to talk to you. There was nowhere you couldn't be reached. And now that's more true than anything, sometimes to an overbearing extent, because your smartphones the smartphones put every single one of these out of commission pretty much. Like Redbox, the little distribution, they transcended video rental stores. Probably one of the many, many, many reasons why they were put out of business, and now they don't even really exist. I think there was one over in front of our Walgreens that nobody ever really uses, but everything's digital, so there's no reason to go and rent the physical movies anymore because no one has this next one, because this is a personal one. A portable DVD player. Not just a DVD player, a portable DVD player. We had these little DVD players that flipped up and there was a screen attached to them, and we would like take them to school and everything, much to the disappointment of my mom. She didn't want us to do that, but we would. And you could plug headphones in them, just watch it anywhere as long as the battery was charged. And that was just crazy. Obviously, for a lot of people listening to this, that might not sound like a big deal because you could just pull YouTube up on your phone, download movies onto your phone, watch it on streaming apps on your phone. But at the time, that was how you did that. There was no other way to really do it, other than maybe download them to your MP3 player, but the DVD player came first. The standalone GPS for your car, back before Siri and all sorts of other apps just, took over and all had their GPS built in. There was a standalone little device that you would put on the windshield of your car and it would direct you to where you need to go. Much like how, our AI and everything talks to us, the GPS would just be like, turn left here, turn right at the next street, that sort of thing. Burning CDs. The idea that you didn't even have to buy CDs, you just had to borrow one from your friend. Of course, there is the idea of like, oh, I need to support this band, and so we would buy CDs anyway. But burning CDs and being able to have any CD without actually buying it was crazy. Now you just go on YouTube. And MP3 players in general. CDs were transcended pretty much very quickly whenever I was growing up. And then the final one on the list that I had looked at was horses. As soon as cars came, they didn't stand a chance, is the comment that they left. And those are just a couple of different examples. It's really crazy to think of all of the technology and you hear it all the time. It's like, oh, you had these computers that would fill up entire rooms because of how big they were, and they can't even do a fraction of what you can do on your smartphone. And it really is crazy because there's so much that is now obsolete because of these little stupid things that we can keep in our pocket. But they are smart because they're called smartphones. And finally, we're going to round it off with number 5, which is this or that. It's going to list off 2 things rapid fire, and I'm going to have to choose in between them with no explanation. But I'm going to give an explanation for some of these. It was taken from an article that had over 200 of these, but a lot of them were kind of stupid. But I digress. The first one is playlists or podcasts. And after thinking about this for a little bit, I'm going to say podcasts, primarily because one, I have a podcast, but two, playlists are nice, and especially in the job I currently work, it's nice to just put 1,000 song playlist together and let it shuffle for the entire day. But I'm primarily someone where if I'm going to listen to music, I will typically just choose a CD and put it on repeat. I'm a CD man or an album man, not a CD man. I don't really have that many CDs, but I'm an album man more than I am a playlist man. So for that reason, I choose podcasts, but that doesn't necessarily mean I choose podcasts over music. Summer or winter? Winter. Depending on where I am. In Wisconsin, summer. In Missouri, winter. Because winter up in Wisconsin is serial killer-esque. And in my first 2 years here, I shoveled more in those 2 years than I ever did in my entire life down in Missouri. It was actually kind of crazy. So, depends on where I'm at. Spring or fall? I'm actually going to go the opposite direction. Normally, I linger towards colder weather, hoodie weather. You know what? No, fall. Just because of everything that surrounds it. Pumpkin spice, apple cider, hoodies, all that good stuff. Halloween. I'm a Halloween supporter. Sue me. So yeah. Cookies or chips? Probably chips more than cookies. Cookies are fantastic, especially white chip macadamia nut ones, but I just eat so much more chips, especially barbecue chips. Fantastic. Comedy or horror? Probably comedy. Because comedy movies, I typically will put more in the background and watch more on a daily basis. Horror, I have to really be locked in, and it's not a movie genre that I will personally watch in every single scenario or every single mindset. Comedy is something I can watch no matter what mood I'm in. That being said, I really do love my horror movies, but comedy, just for that reason, is what I will choose out of these two. Movies or TV shows? Probably movies. It depends, dude, because I really love The Walking Dead. We just watched through that, and that was probably the most fun for the first, 5 or 6 seasons that I've had in a really long time. But when you get a good movie, man, I'm going to say movies, mainly because TV shows are becoming to the point where each episode is the length of a movie, and so it's a lot more investment. A movie, you can just be one and done. iOS or Android? Honestly, I don't care. I think people who pick Team iOS or Team Android are stupid, but I typically get Apple products just because I find comfort in it. It's the same way where Xbox really isn't superior to any of the other consoles, but it's loyalty that brings me to, play on my Xbox. Waffles or pancakes? Waffles. Pancakes, I've been warming up to them over the years, but still the holy trinity of French toast being number 1, waffles being number 2, and pancakes being number 3 holds up to me. Rain or snow? Before I moved up to Wisconsin, I would have said snow, but rain easily. Especially, we just had a rainy day today, and it was just so relaxing having the window open, hearing the rainfall. Occasionally, the little boom, boom, boom from the storm in the background. And it's just so chill. Coke or Pepsi? I don't really have a preference for just the specific drink Pepsi and the specific drink Coke, but I drink Pepsi products far more, so I'm going to just go with Pepsi. Ice cream or cake? Probably ice cream. My wife just recently made this, I don't want to call it a wet cake, but it was very moist, and it was a strawberry moist cake, a moist strawberry cake, and I would definitely eat that all day if it was left in front of me. But ice cream, I typically buy more on a daily basis. Not a daily basis. Guys, I promise I don't eat that much ice cream. But we buy more regularly, I guess is the best way to say it. Basketball or football? If you had asked me this probably from 2003 to 2011, I would have probably said basketball. But these days, probably football. Hamburgers or hot dogs? Have you been listening to this podcast? Hamburgers, easily. Not even a contest. I do love hot dogs. Hamburgers are the best thing. Pop or rock music? It's still an easy choice. I've been I've been enjoying pop music a lot more in my older age. I'm only 32, but in my oldish age. That being said, rock music dominates my music. Concert or a sporting game? If it's specifically one kind of sporting event, which is baseball games, I will choose that. But the concert really depends on who I'm going to see. If it's a band that I really hold dear, it teeters on that line. For the most part, though, baseball games are more consistent, so I'll say a sports game. And the chance that I actually get to go see the bands in concert that I really, really like are very, very far and few between. I have got to see Alter Bridge. I would go and see them again. If you had to ask me if I would go see Alter Bridge or go to a Washington Nationals game, at the moment I'm leaning towards a Washington Nationals game. So probably a sporting game. Coffee or tea? Probably coffee. Iced coffee or hot coffee? I'm an iced coffee dude. I don't like my coffee piping hot. Burn your tongue. To me, I just want to get straight to drinking, and my mouth does not do well with just getting burnt off. Yeah. Because a lot of hot coffees out there, if you drink it, especially if you've ever gone to McDonald's, you take a drink and it just burns the taste buds out of your mouth, so you can't even enjoy the coffee drink anymore. Do you like wings, chicken wings, or ribs? Wings. For wings, do you prefer bone or boneless? I'm going to get crucified for this, but boneless. I like boneless wings being pretty much nuggets that I can dip into any sauce that I want. That's how I get set up at Buffalo Wild Wings, which is probably another cardinal sin for wings lovers. Batman or Superman? Batman, easily. I do love Superman. I don't poop on him like a lot of Batman supporters do. I think you can have both, but I like Batman better. Single player games or multiplayer? If you had asked me in high school, Call of Duty all day, multiplayer, but single player games I typically play by myself. So, tacos or burritos? Burritos. Action movies or thriller? Probably action, especially the cheesy 80s where you just have Arnold, which makes me think of the TikTok trend that's been going around where it's like, whenever you feel like giving up, don't forget what Arnold Schwarzenegger said. And it's playing inspirational music in the background. And he's just like, wow, 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 wow. Sushi or steak? Honestly, this is probably going to... I probably get grocery store sushi on a pretty regular basis. And I eat it far more than I eat steak. But a good steak you cannot beat unless it's a cheeseburger. So probably a steak over sushi. Reading books or listening to audiobooks? Again, this is another one where it depends on my mood, but probably audiobooks because I've actually listened to a couple of audiobooks at work recently. Reading or writing? I'm probably more of a writer than a reader because especially when it comes to planning out these podcast episodes, I'm click-clacking at my computer for a very, very long time. Do you like the Justice League or the Avengers? Justice League. I'm definitely more of a DC guy. But the Avengers have kind of won me over the years, especially ever since, I'm not going to lie, since the MCU came out, I've come to appreciate Marvel characters a lot more. To me, whenever I was growing up, a lot of the Marvel characters like Iron Man, Captain America, the Fantastic Four were all like B players. Now they're all A-list players. I've given them a chance, but Justice League, they're just my dudes. I can't explain it. I am more interested in the characters, more interested in the villains, the storylines. Far more intriguing to me. Outback or Texas Roadhouse? Texas Roadhouse, not even a question. Soft or hard tacos? You gotta have hard tacos. I originally would have said soft tacos, but you're essentially eating a burrito. If you're gonna eat a taco, hard shell taco. The crunch matters. Chess or checkers? I was a part of chess club back in middle school, so chess probably. I was never very good. Do not ever, misunderstand what I'm saying there and think I'm good at chess or anything. I suck. But I also have very hardcore ADHD, so I need to make my moves as quickly as possible, and I never really think them through. Me saying that really offended a coworker once for some reason. You don't have patience for chess? Then how are you going to have patience for your co-workers and customers? I was like, well, the difference is that's a board game and these are people. Of course I'm going to have patience with people, you jork. Anyway, sideway. Onion rings or French fries? French fries. And there's so many different good kinds of French fries too. Vanilla or chocolate? I'm actually more of a vanilla person. My wife's more of a chocolate person. And then for our children, or our two older kids, rather, it's in reverse, where Valerie's like me and she likes vanilla stuff and doesn't really care for chocolate. I don't mind chocolate, especially Reese's, Kit Kats, and other good things. But my son really likes chocolate. It's funny because we've been going to the grocery store and getting them donuts recently. And my daughter has the exact same donut order that I had when I was growing up. A vanilla icing sprinkled donut, and my son gets the chocolate sprinkled donut. It's very cute. Xbox or Nintendo? Xbox is the one I game on, more so the Xbox. But Nintendo games have been pulling me in recently, especially Pokemon. Spicy or mild? Although I am one of those people where if I see something super spicy and I have to try it to see if I can take it, I definitely go for mild. I don't think I've ever ordered myself anything above mild at like Taco Bell. So if that tells you where I'm at, I love the flavor, and then the after effect of me going just does not add up well. And then finally, Star Wars or Star Trek. And I've watched the newer Star Trek movies, but I've probably never watched a full episode of the TV series. So it's easily Star Wars for me. I've heard from a lot of people that Star Trek is just as addicting, and I'm sure it is, but it's not my thing. But I have to sit here for a second and give a shout out to ChatGPT for listening to me all those hard nights and coming up with these 5 talkies. Coming up with these talkies. I'm actually a spicy fan after all. No, for coming up with these 5 topics, because they actually ended up being a lot of fun. And if you guys are interested in hearing any more topics like this, it is definitely something that we can revisit in the future. This is why I need to go to bed. I'm recording legitimately at 1 a.m. right now. So I need to go get some sleep. And I actually decided to stay on brand for the good word as we end this episode. And I told it a couple of my inspirations, a couple of the books I really liked, and told ChatGPT to come on with a good word to end this episode. And so it says, chaos is easy to fall into. It's loud, it's funny, it grabs your attention, but discipline, perspective, and growth, those are quieter choices that you have to make on purpose. Like Jocko Willink often emphasizes, discipline creates freedom, not just in your schedule, but in your mind. And as Jordan Peterson talks about, meaning is found in taking responsibility for the small things, not just the big, dramatic moments. Even in an episode full of randomness, jokes, and off-the-cuff reactions, there's a reminder here. Life is made up of small decisions stacked over time. So whatever you're chasing, growth, peace, success, it doesn't come from one big moment. It comes from choosing again and again to show up just a little better than you did yesterday. Yeah, if you improve by 0.1% every single day, you'll be 36.5% better by the end of the year, or 1% better than your 365% better by the end of the year. But you get what I'm saying. I do really like that. It pretty much is a Jocko quote with some Jordan Peterson mixed in it, but make those small decisions on a daily basis and be surprised by the results that come from accomplishing and winning those small missions on a daily basis. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast, episode 12. And even though 12 isn't the biggest milestone ever, and some of my friends on social media may even see that and be like, who cares? What do you even talk about anyway? It means the world to me that we are getting back into the habit of doing things, getting back to where I need to be, and honestly, keeping myself responsible for uploading these episodes no matter how busy or hectic the day has been, because it really is helping me as far as what we just talked about in that good work, learning that discipline. So guys, thank you so much for taking part of this journey with me, and if you feel it, if you enjoyed this episode, why not give us a rating? Why not hit that like button? Why not do things for me? No. But just by being at this point in the episode, it really does mean the world to me, guys. And I just wanted to thank you one last time before I say I hope to see each and every one of you in the next episode. Bye, guys.